Hey guys, what's up? 2-Bit Jesus here, and today I'm doing a very special edition of the 2-Bit Talks. I was inspired by Adam Koralik actually a few years ago because he had this whole retrospective series on different consoles, and I loved it so much, and I always wanted to do a similar type of video where I'm just kind of talking about consoles that I like and I find interesting. Now, Adam Koralik, he has a bunch of different consoles, and he goes from like the first generation up to today, and it's just a great series, and I highly suggest you go watch it. I'll have his channel linked in the comment section, the description below. But today I'm going to be talking about the Wii U. Now, this console was released the fall of 2012. I actually didn't buy one until, I believe, the beginning, February or March of 2014. So I missed out a good year and a half of this thing's lifespan. And at that time, there's people, I think everyone can relate to, there's different time periods where you're really into gaming and some periods where you just kind of fall out of it. Other stuff in your life is going on. For me personally, I was, my second child had been born, so there was all that stuff going on. I was at that time in a band, and we were working on music, so I had different stuff I was focusing on, and I really only had like a 360, and I was playing on that, 2 to 4 hours a night. So I was playing games, but I wasn't like really plugged into the community or really kind of keeping up with what things were going on. I remember E3 seeing this thing, them showing this thing off, and at first I was like, the Wii U, what is that? Like, is that an expansion to the Wii? And then when I saw the video further, I realized it was a new console. And it looked very interesting, but beyond that, I was just like, I'll wait till it gets really cheap, and then I'll go get it. And that's kind of what happened. And I think a lot of people slept on it who saw it, and then also there's a lot of people who just thought that they didn't even know that this was the Wii U here. They just saw the gamepad, and they thought it was just an expansion to the Wii. And that was a lot of stuff that killed it, and that I'm not going to go through the whole mess of what killed the Wii U. Suffice to say, bad marketing and the fact that third parties completely abandoned it within the first year or two of its release. But that being said, it was a good little system. If there's one thing I'm gonna get to the games here in a second. It's interesting because when I got this system, I got a Wii U and I got an Xbox One, and at that time period between 2014 and 2016. Like nowadays, everyone's going, oh, it's not about power, it's about the games, it's about the games. Well, between 2014 and 2016, the Wii U, in my opinion, was the best console because it had the games. Like these games right here, this stack of awesome games are what came out between that period of time. And while, yes, the Xbox One and the PS4 did have their exclusives, it wasn't that much. Like, this is like solid AAA games in this stack. Give or take a couple. I mean, I'll get into it. But for the most part, they had a ton of games for the system. Awesome games. And Sony, like, at that time, was like, whoa, we got all these indies. Like, we got No Man's Sky, and we got this other indie here. Oh, we got Bloodborne. And that's all they really had. Xbox, when they first came out, they had like Rise, Son of Rome, which honestly, I liked it. I played it. It's an enjoyable game, but it's, again, one of those games that's kind of like a tech demo, kind of showing you what the console could do. Sunset Overdrive, which is one of the most underrated exclusives of this generation. Excuse me. That's an awesome game, so that was out there. And of course, Dead Rising 3, which was also a really fun experience, but I wouldn't say it was like everything that was on there wasn't anything that matched what Nintendo had at the time. Now, of course, this was before Halo 6 or Gears 4, which was on the Xbox, and of course, this was before, the Uncharted games were re-released, or back to Xbox Master Chief Collection. This was before Uncharted 4, and all the, like, Sony right now is like exploding with their exclusives. Microsoft, had come out with a few exclusives at the beginning of the console generation, and then about 2016, or I should say actually 2015, and even 2016, they were starting to get some more out there, but still during that time, in my opinion, they both didn't match what was on the Wii U. And a good thing about them, though, was that if you wanted to play the multiplats and you wanted the big online games like Destiny and all that, you had to have an Xbox One or a PS4. So that also hurt the Wii U. But pound for pound in that time period, I still feel that the Wii U was still better as far as games. If you're only looking at games and what it offered compared to its competition, I feel the Wii U was better. Now, I'm going to get to the games. We're going to get to them, but I want to just talk a little bit about the hardware. Now, the Wii U, to me, felt like a slightly beefier 360. It could definitely play any game that was like on the 360, maybe a little bit better. Nintendo kind of had the same philosophy with the original Wii. When it was released, it was like a beefed up GameCube. And honestly, I don't even think it was as powerful as the original Xbox, but it was in that range. And so I think Nintendo had the same mentality coming into the Wii U. We don't have to compete with Microsoft and Sony on power. We'll just release a console that's about as powerful as, the last gen, meaning about as powerful as the PS3 and 360, and, we'll attach a gimmick to it, and it'll sell just like the Wii sold. And that didn't happen this time around, even though this was a cool idea. But in my opinion, that didn't, matter. We're in a period, especially with the awesome games they had, we're in a period where I really feel that you don't have to have the most powerful console unless you're only buying games that specifically are like, we're going to have the most photorealistic gameplay, we're going to have the most intense graphics. Those type of games, yeah, you're going to want to get a PS4 Pro or an Xbox One X. But if you're just looking for just games, a gaming console, and just to have fun, you don't need a beast of a console to have that enjoyment. You can have a Wii U, or you can get the base Xbox One or the base PS4, or what have you. So, I don't think that really cursed the Wii U. I think what cursed it was technically with its technical limitations, it did actually, I should admit, that it did hinder its third-party support. It got to a point where third parties were, the Wii U would have been okay for the first half of the generation, because even in 2015, 2016, the 360 and PS3 were still getting ports. So the Wii U still would have survived, but then after that, it would have been harder, because there's, certain limitations to the device for third-party developers. Also, the hard drive. This is the deluxe one, by the way. It's a 32 gigabyte hard drive. And for the most part, it did decently by me. But then I eventually reached a certain point, as you can tell, where I bought a thumb drive. Now, this is a small one. I think this is only a 16 gigabyte thumb drive, but I bought it because I just needed a little extra space. So I stuck it in there, bam, and since then this is all I've needed. I haven't gone too crazy with downloading digital games, though I do have digital games on here. So it does have some, something, and still Nintendo does this because the Switch has only 32 gigabytes of internal memory. Or is it 64? I think it's 32. And so they're still they just don't get it in this day and age. You need more space than that. You need a good, the Wii U should have, I think, had at least 250 gigs in it for internal memory. But and I had to get this little expansion for it to have more space for some games I got. But besides that, it was a fun console. I actually loved using the gamepad. The only thing I didn't like is there's lots of moments where there's games that actually split up where you have to look down and look back up, look down, look back up, and I didn't like that as much. Because I was just so used to, I just wanted to either play and look at the screen or play and look down at here. I preferred, doing one or the other. I didn't like having to go back and forth. It wasn't that fun for me. But this gamepad was pretty awesome. I loved using it. I loved the fact that I could play my Xbox and I could let my daughter play this. And we could both just, instead of having to share a TV with people, you could split off. So that was a cool thing. Another cool thing was you could tune it to your TV, and this could double as a remote control. So if you wanted to lower the volume or whatnot, you could use that. So it was a cool little doohickey. Another cool thing that other console manufacturers do now, like Xbox, Microsoft's big thing is to be forwards compatible, meaning all of your stuff on Xbox One can go over to the Xbox One X, and I guarantee you when they come out with their next Xbox, all the stuff on your Xbox One X will be able to go forward onto the next Xbox. They weren't the first ones to do that. It was actually the Wii U, because all of your Wii accessories were forwards compatible, because this thing was fully backwards compatible. At the time, there was no there was no 360 backwards compatibility on the Xbox, so the Wii U was the only one in town, and I only have one game here with me, but you could just stick a Wii game inside of your Wii U and it would play it, and you didn't have to worry about having to do a different control scheme because, yikes, because all this was forwards compatible. I don't really care too much for this controller, but hey, this would go over with you and you could play it, you could play your Wii game just fine, or if you didn't like that, use your classic controller to play your Wii games, or most importantly, if you had the adapter for this, you could play your GameCube controller, which is still, till this day, one of my favorite controllers. That was an awesome feature, that all that stuff was forwards compatible. It was a nice little feature, and the fact that also it worked with other games. Like, you didn't have to go out and buy, if you had all of your old controllers for your Wii, you didn't have to go out and rebuy a bunch of controllers to have some awesome 2 to 4 player action. You could just use your Wiimotes and your classic controllers, and bam, you're there. You're having fun. Now, if you did not like the gamepad, they also had their little Pro controller here, which I got because for me, I was like, I want the Pro controller because I kind of wanted to sit there and play games, like I always do. And when I saw this, at first I was like, oh, this is cool. This looks like a 360 controller. And I played heavily on my 360, so that was my preferred controller. And it looked a little weird to me at first, but I'm like, hey, it's probably going to play just like the 360 controller. No, it didn't. As you can tell, they put both sticks up here for some weird reason, even though usually the stick's supposed to go down here. I don't know why they did that. It just, every time I play with this thing, it feels weird to me. It just feels weird. I feel like I should be moving it like this. I know it's a little small thing, but that feels weird. And I never liked this controller, and I've never used it. I always just use this. But if you have a Wii U and you don't like using the gamepad and you just want to kind of do it old school and sit on your couch and play, you can do it like this weird. It feels like a cheap 360 knockoff, and they didn't even get the design right. But that's an option. Plus a little cable here that you can plug in and charge up your controller. Nice, little extra thing there. So, all in all, if you ask me, the hardware was great. The controller, the fact that everything was forwards compatible. I loved using the gamepad. I never really had a mean thing to say about the hardware, honestly. My big gripe was I guess with this anyway, also I forgot to mention earlier, was the fact that it wouldn't, like the range on this thing is really bad. So you couldn't pick this thing up and go to the bathroom to finish your game, unless you're living room was right next to your bathroom, which at the time I first bought this, it was. So I could play it. But then when we went to our new apartment, it was too far away. So, that was a downside to it. But besides that, if you ask me, in retrospective, I know third parties were held back, and that's kind of why they ended up stopped supporting it, because it was kind of, old tech, and the kind of games they were wanting to make, they were held back on. And then plus the system didn't sell that well too, so that it was easy for them to go, oh, we're not going to support this anymore. So I understand why that happened. But, it's harping back on another thing. It's a system that didn't get its just due, and I'm about to get into the reason why it didn't get its just due. The games! The games, the games, the games! This is what makes the Wii U great. Its gimmickiness with the gamepad aside, the fact that it had the curse of the Wii's name, the fact that they totally just freaking screwed up the launch of this thing and the advertisement of this thing. I don't even think they really had any advertisements. You would never see a Wii U commercial. The only reason I knew about it is because I started, reading up on stuff and watching other YouTubers talk about it. And that's kind of how I found out about some of the other games with it. And then, I don't know if I said this earlier, I can't remember if I did or not, I love Nintendo. I've always loved Nintendo, I've always loved their games, so for me, it was a no-brainer to get a Wii U. But, sadly enough, I really feel the system did not get its just due, and this is why. Now, all of these games in this stack are exclusive to the console. So are these games right here, but I'll get, in a minute, I'm about to tell you why I don't have these included with the stack, so I'm going to talk about these games here. Now, I don't have these in a particular order, so it's not going to be like order of release. This is just the stack of my games I brought from down upstairs and put down here. I'm just going to talk about them. Super Mario Maker. This game's awesome. You get to make your own Mario games, and you can do Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers 3, Super Mario World, Super Mario Wii U, or Wii, the Wii edition. So you have, you can go through the entire generations of Super Mario games, and you can make it. This is an awesome game. I prefer playing other people's levels, because I'm not that creative at making levels. So I like to go on and play other people's levels. But besides that, this is just a fun little creation game, and I've had hours of fun playing it. And as you guys have seen on this channel, because I used to stream this game a lot, and people would submit their levels, and I would play their levels. And so it's an awesome game, and I actually think it's going to get ported to the Switch. This was a big seller. Actually, I should put this up here. This was a big seller. I cannot recommend this game high enough. This is one of the must-haves for the Wii U. You will have loads of fun making levels, having your friends play it, or you just playing it yourself. It's a nice little creation game. Also, you might not realize, I forgot to mention this, I haven't talked about amiibos, of course, about the system. There were these little, figurines. Have them packed upstairs somewhere. I don't feel like bringing them out. But you would use it, and because this thing says amiibo right here, you would use it, and it would unlock some content for you in the game. Pretty cool that they found a way, because at first when the amiibos came out, it just seemed like a little collector figurine, and then they actually used it with the game, and that was awesome. But the only thing I didn't like is there's some amiibos that became more rare than others, and so there's a lot of content that you can't get for these games unless you have those figurines. So I always wished Nintendo would, maybe if you're listening, Nintendo, please, at some point, sell the content that would normally be on the amiibo on your store. You'll make a ton of money. Because no one, especially as we go forward, those older amiibos are going to be harder to find. Even the ones they made for Breath of the Wild. Those are going to be harder to find. And the price is going to be jacked up. And you, Nintendo, can make more money by just putting that content on your store for people to buy and download. It's called microtransactions. You can do it. You can do it. Don't abuse it. Don't abuse it. But that's something I think we need down the road, as these amiibos kind of, as they discontinue certain lines of amiibos and bring in new ones and what have you. All right, here's one that was a huge disappointment. This was a game I was so excited for, and I played it for about 2-3 hours, and I haven't picked it up since. Star Fox Zero. This game had a lot of hype going into it, but they forced you to use this in the TV screen. This is what I don't like, and it forced you to use motion controls. You could disable the motion controls, kinda. You still had to use them, but they just weren't as, like, mandatory, I guess you could say. And it just totally sunk this game for me. I just couldn't stand it. And the fact that it is yet again another reboot. This is the third reboot of the series. Because you had Star Fox on the Super Nintendo, and then Star Fox 64 was a reboot of the Super Nintendo version. And then that line of Star Fox ran until this one, and they rebooted the series again. And that's where I thought it was ridiculous. I didn't think Star Fox needed a reboot. It's not a game that needs to be rebooted. You've already done it. So that frustrated me from a narrative standpoint. Maybe one day I'll get back to playing this game and beating it, and I can really give a full opinion on it, but it just wasn't a game that I could get into. I played like I said, I think I played like 2-3 hours of it, and I was done, and I have not picked it up since. I still have it in my collection, though. This came along with Star Fox. This is a fun little freebie. You just kind of defend your little base from these robots. It's fun for about 30 minutes to an hour, but it's nothing special. You can find these two together for probably cheap if you really need to get it, but this is one of the... I wouldn't recommend this. I would not recommend this game. Unless you're a super Star Fox fan or you're going for a complete set of Wii U games, you can skip this one. It wasn't anything great. Xenoblade Chronicles X. Awesome game. I never finished it. It was just too big. At the time, I was playing so many different games, and I was doing the 2-bit review, so I had way too much going on, and I played this game, and I loved it. It was awesome. It was fun, but it was overwhelming. And I haven't gotten back to it yet, but I do plan on finishing this one of these days. I highly recommend this game, especially if you're looking for a big, open world RPG style kind of game. This is definitely up. It also kind of reminded me a little bit of Phantasy Star, just kind of the graphic style and how the game felt to me. But yeah, I recommend this title. Paper Mario Color Splash. I never really played this. I just watched my daughter play it, and she had a little bit of fun with it, but it didn't seem to be as memorable as Paper Mario on 64 or anything like that. I would recommend it if you're a Mario fan, but it's not a game that's like on the must-have or on my must-have list for the Wii U. But it's okay. Not great, but not terrible, I guess you could say. Kind of mediocre. Alright. Sonic Lost World. Now, this is one of the first games I bought. I bought this game, and I bought Super Mario Brothers, Wii U, and Super Mario 3D World, and then I also got a digital version of Pikmin 3, which also I didn't mention, by the way. I don't have a physical version of Pikmin 3, but I do have it downloaded on this Wii U. It's an awesome game. At the time, I could not find Pikmin 3. I just couldn't find it in any store, so I had to settle for downloading it. And I think now you can find a physical copy. It's like a greatest hits copy, and it's only like $20. Highly recommend Pikmin 3, and also Sonic Lost World. I played a little bit of it. It's a pickup title. I think this is like, what, it says $26. It might be a little cheaper now from when I got it, but it's a decent game, but it didn't blow me away like Sonic Generations did. I'll say that about this. So, I mean, you can pick it up on the cheap, but again, if you skip it, you're not missing out on anything great. Here's another one. Yoshi's Woolly World. Do not care for this game. Mainly got it for my kids because they love this type of stuff. They seem to enjoy it and have a great time. This game bores the shit out of me. I think it's the yarn and stuff. I don't know why. I just can't get into it. But I will say my daughters absolutely love playing this game, and they have a great time playing it. So I would highly recommend it in that sense. But for me, personally, I don't care for it. Yikes. Kirby and the Rainbow Curse. Got this for my daughter, and it sucks. I played it, don't like it. She played it, doesn't like it. I would not recommend this game. This game was a wet fart in church on Sunday. But Kirby Star Allies, I believe is what it's called, on the Switch. I recommend that one. Not this one, though. Skip out on this one. There's a couple of games that are some turds in here. I should have mentioned that earlier. But there are some of the best games of the generation, too, in this list. Just like I said, like Super Mario Maker, and where was it? Xenoblades. That's a great one. Here is the game that made me want to get a Wii U. Super Mario Brothers 3D World. I saw, I believe it was Jimmy Fallon playing this game with Reggie Fils-Aimé or whatnot. I saw it on YouTube, and I was like, they just had so much fun. I was like, I've got to get this game. And I did, and it was fun. It was great. This was when we hooked up, we first got the Wii U and we hooked it up, this is the first game we played. We had a blast. It's a fun game. 1 player, 2 player, 3 player, 4 player. As many players as you want to get. This game's awesome. It was a blast to play. I still love it. I haven't actually beaten it. Me and my partner, we have been playing it together, and we got pretty far. Me and her got to, I believe, not the last world, but I think we're on the next to last world, and we just kind of dropped it and started playing some other stuff, and we haven't gotten back to it, and we plan on beating it together. So it's one of those things that I can't beat on my own. But love this game. This one's okay. I know a lot of people don't like it. Super Mario Brothers U. If you've played Super Mario Brothers or new Super Mario Brothers on the Wii, this is kind of like the Wii U version. It's fun. Not as fun as this one. Oh, I forgot to say, this is a must-have, this game right here. This game, I would say, is a highly recommended one. I wouldn't say it's, a must-have, but it was really fun. I don't have any complaints. I guess I could see if you played new Super Mario Brothers on Wii, and then you got a Wii U, and at the time, I think this was the only Super Mario Brothers game on it, and you got this, you would go, I've been playing this on the Wii. This is kind of a disappointment. But for me, it wasn't. It was like, oh, this is fun. Alright, Splatoon. This game is awesome. This is a game, though, that you have to use this thing with for some weird reason. But besides that, awesome game. I believe you can turn off the motion controls, so I really loved it. I love playing this game. My daughters absolutely love it. It was definitely a game changer. This thing probably moved a lot more Wii U's than would have been moved. Highly recommended. One of the best games of its generation. Fun game. Moving on to Smash Bros. Wii U. A freaking awesome game that just was exploding with content. And then they gave you even more content. And then a few months later, they gave you even more content. This is probably the ultimate Smash Brothers until Smash Brothers on Switch comes out. This game was just awesome. We played the crap out of it. We had so many characters. The fact that you can make your own character with your Miis and all that, just awesome. These are the exclusives that were for the Wii U. Yeah, awesome. At the time, if you would have gone back to like I said, between 2014 and 2016, the stack of games, just head and shoulders more exclusives than their competitors, the PS4 and the Xbox One had, in my humble opinion. Now, getting on to the other games, these games were exclusive to the Wii U, but have now also been ported over to the Switch, which they're kind of doing. Like I said, I think Super Mario Brothers or Super Mario Maker is going to make its way to the Switch. I don't think technically Smash Brothers. I don't know yet. They say it's a new Smash Brothers, but I kind of think it's going to be Smash Brothers Wii U, but with a bunch of new levels and characters, and they're just going to call it a new Smash Brothers. I don't think it's at its core is going to be different. Bayonetta, fun game. I got this version because this version has the physical disc of Bayonetta 1, and of course you got Bayonetta 2 here. This game is now on Switch, but at the time it was an exclusive to the Wii U, and was a great reason to get the Wii U. Highly recommend this game. If you want the physical edition of like Bayonetta 1, get the Wii U version. It's cheap, and you actually get the disc. Good game. This game recently came out as of this recording. Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, hard game. Hard game. It's on the Switch now. If you want to get a cheaper version of it, the Wii U is the way to go. It's essentially the same game except probably slightly lower resolution. What was this one on? It's not going to say on the back here, is it? You're probably, because the Switch is technically, I think, a little bit more powerful than the Wii U, so the graphics probably look sharper on the Switch. Also, you got Funky Kong on the Switch version, so there's less content on this one, but it's still the same core game. I would recommend it. It's hard, so if you want a challenge, get this. But fun little game on the Wii U. Now, this game's coming out soon for the Switch. Fun little, Captain Toad, Treasure Tracker. It's just a fun little kind of puzzly kind of game. I played the crap out of it with my daughter. I highly recommend this game. And again, like I said, the Switch version's probably going to have a lot more content. The graphics are probably going to be a little bit more sharper and sleeker, and the game will probably run a little bit better than the Wii U version. But essentially, the core game will still be there. I highly recommend that one. Another one, Mario Kart 8. This was another system seller for the Wii U. When this came out, I'm pretty sure they moved a lot more Wii U's than they would have otherwise. Great game. Loved using the gamepad. Did not like the motion controls, but I believe you could turn it off. Awesome DLC. And again, that's another thing. Nintendo release awesome content for their games at a cheap price, where on the Xbox and the PS4, you were paying like $30 to $50 for season passes, and probably paying $15 to $20 for DLC, and you were getting less quality in content. But Nintendo, I believe this generation with the Wii U did DLC right. And I would highly recommend this game. The Switch version, in my opinion, is way better than this one. You're getting some extra courses on the Switch, and you're getting the Splatoon characters. But that being said, put that aside. If you're just collecting for the Wii U, this is a must-have. Awesome game. Now, I don't have too much in the way of third-party games. I have Shovel Knight. It's the physical edition. Nice, thick manual there. Also, all of the DLC that they've come out with, like what was his name, the Spectre Knight or whatnot, and then also the co-op mode and all that, it came out for the Wii U version too, for free. So, highly recommend this game. It's awesome. Loved playing it. Really feels good on the Wii U. It really felt at home there. One of the few third-party, multi-plats that I have for the system. Another one, I got this, Ninja Gaiden 3. I didn't want to get the 360 version. I didn't want to get the PS3 version. I heard that those versions were kind of glitchy, where this one had, they had fixed some of the bugs. This was like the later release, so like it was going to be a little bit more polished than its predecessors were. So I got it for this. I played a little bit of it. It's fun, but it's one of the very few multiplats that I have for the system. I don't know if I said it, I would recommend this. I would only recommend this if you're a Ninja Gaiden fan. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it. I owned a few downloaded games. Like I said earlier, Pikmin 3. I also had DK64 on here. I had quite a few DS games because I kind of missed out on the DS, And this was a cool little way of going and playing those games. Like I had the Zelda DS games on here. I also had the Angry Video Game Nerd game on here. I never actually beat that one. I'm like on the last world. I need to go back and play that. I'm really bad at sometimes playing a game and just getting really far and then dropping it and playing another game. I do that quite a bit sometimes. I have a big backlog that I need to chew through. But yeah, I guess just in summation, because I kind of went on a huge rant just looking at all this stuff and talking about it. But my retrospective of the Wii U was it was an awesome console. It was cut short, and I feel like it didn't get its just due. It had some really awesome games, and if you compare it to its competition at the time, like Sony and Xbox were nowhere near what they were doing as far as exclusives go. You know, Sony was, a lot of their big games, their God of War, their Uncharted 4s, those were still deep in development. Microsoft had like some games out at the start of the generation, and then they had like Halo 6 and Gears of War 4 coming out, and that was in the pipeline. But besides that, they didn't, like Nintendo tried. It was almost like a repeat of the GameCube. They really tried with these games, and they really tried to make the Wii U, you know, something awesome to play. Because I think when they released this thing, they just assumed, oh, because of the Wii U is going to be a success, and it wasn't. And I think once they realized that they had tripped up with the launch of this thing, they really came out swinging and really tried to deliver an awesome experience in a console. And I feel like it got overshadowed by the Xbox and the PS4, especially the PS4, because people were going on and on about power and how if you want to play the best multiplats, you got to get a PS4. And they weren't really talking about the exclusives back then. And I really feel the Wii U was, if it was all about games, as they say nowadays, as they say, you know, here in 2018, the Wii U should have been the top dog. It should have been the best console. But clearly, at least at that time, in the zeitgeist of the gaming community, it was not about games. It was all about what played the multiplats better, and people kind of snubbed or overlooked the Wii U. And I really feel, you know, 10, 15 years down the line, once people start collecting for this type of system, they're going to look back, kind of like how they look back on the Dreamcast or even the GameCube and go, this was a good system, it had some good games on it, they had some really cool concepts, and they really tried. And I think from a historical context, the Wii U is going to be remembered more highly than it was when it first launched. And I guess that kind of boils down to my thoughts of it. And I would say if you're on the fence or if you're looking to get one now. You can get them cheap. These games, all these games are relatively cheap. I think like one of the most highly decorated games in this list, it's actually at the bottom, sorry, Smash Brothers Wii U, it's only like $30 right now at GameStop. I mean, you can pick this up on the cheap. Same with Splatoon, that you can get that on the cheap. All these games you can get on the cheap right now, because I think as time goes on, and especially as like a store like GameStop, once they eventually kind of push the Wii U out to make room for other stuff like the Switch, once they fully get rid of their Wii U stock, some of these games might start going up in price and getting harder to find and get. You know, luckily a lot of these games, you know, again, like I said, like Mario Kart 8, they're getting ported over to the Switch. So ultimately, you know, if you're only looking at like your Mario Kart 8 or your, honestly, Bayonetta's, you know, if you're only looking at those games, then yeah, just get the Switch. But I think ultimately, there's some games that are not going to get ported over, and if you want to play those games, the Wii U is going to be the only place to play those at. And again, like I said, I think the Wii U, in retrospective, is going to be more fondly thought of for the great games it has, and for some of the some of the different gameplay mechanics it tried to introduce. Anyway, guys, that's it for my little retrospective on this console. I know I tend to ramble. I'm sorry, but I really like the Wii U, and I kind of wanted to get my thoughts in video form. I plan on actually doing a couple more of these types of videos. I was thinking of talking about the Xbox One and talking about the PS4, just kind of getting my general thoughts out there. Let me know in the comments section actually what you guys think. Yay, nay, did you enjoy the video? Did I ramble on too much? Give me your feedback. I need feedback. Anyway, guys, please sound off in the comment section. Give me your Wii U memories or what you thought of the Wii U. Please hit that share button. Show everyone this awesome video. Hit the subscribe button and also ding the bell right next to the subscribe button. That way you get updates on everything we're doing. That's honestly it for me today, guys. I need to go get some water. I rambled too much. My throat's dry. I hope you guys stay safe and play on.